Welcome to LSB Feaster's Radio Aircheck and Classic TV channel.
Stairway to heaven.
Bringing back your favorite DJs that made PLJ great. This is 95.5 PLJ Reunion Day.
Yeah, here we are.
Yeah.
Broadcasting high above Madison Square Garden in New York City. My name is Mike Allen, Joey Kramer, Race Taylor. We have a full house here of the great employees of 95.5 PLJ. That is a song from Led Zeppelin called Stairway to Heaven, and that played thousands of times, I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Nobody was monitoring it then, so it played thousands of times here on this radio station from New York's best rock. And this person on the phone right now needs a lot of love because he was on New York's Best Rock, and he also transitioned to Power 95. Did it without skipping a beat. I am thrilled, and I'm nervous to even say these words. The legendary Pat St. John is on the phone.
Oh, wow. It is good to be on with you. You know what? The first thing I want to ask you is, what is this bustle in your hedgerow thing?
We were hoping you might have some answers.
No, it makes me wonder. I still don't know.
After all these years.
Yeah, right.
Pat, how you doing?
You. Oh, I'm doing just great, man. I'm just doing great. I wish I was there with you. I just keep hearing all about this, and what you're doing is really great. That doesn't usually happen in radio. It's like just disappear. But I think it's great that you're doing this. That the new owners are letting you do this. I don't know.
We are completely blessed by this opportunity to say goodbye and this chance to revisit so many people who have been the fabric of this radio station. And to be honest, our whole day started just after 9 o'clock this morning by playing a portion of the big montage, which we are dumbfounded as to how on earth that ever came together. So the floor is yours, sir.
Well, I thank you for doing that. That's great. I still have people ask me about that, and it just kind of started as an idea rolling around in my head, and I would mark things down and do it. And it started as a top of the hour ID, and then we wound up putting them all together. But I don't know. I got to give I got to give some wonderful credit. Has anybody mentioned the engineers today?
We have mentioned the current engineers, but not so much the engineers of the past.
We were just on the phone with one, actually.
Oh, yeah. The ones that come to mind, they were all just great. Frank D'Elia, George Musgrave. I got to name some of them. Jim McGuire, Laurie Klein, the late George Berger. God, I remember Tony Luisi and Harry Lang. And, Sue Ronneberger, and so many of them.
Don't forget Gene Maxwell.
Oh, yeah, Gene Maxwell.
He's still around.
Absolutely. I knew I'd forget some. I know I'm forgetting a lot, but I worked with so many of them on this montage, and it was a thrill to do. Just a lot of fun. I still got stuff rolling around in my head after all this time.
So we joked about it, and there was no Pro Tools. I'm sorry to cut you off. So there was nothing digital. What do your fingers look like after doing something like that?
Well, that's the thing. I had to. I sat there very closely because of union regulations, and I worked with so many of these engineers, and they actually had to do the splicing on that. So,
God, that's right.
Yeah. Oh, no, they had to do that. But it was great to produce that and sit next to them, and they just did a great job. I still have the reel-to-reel master, but I don't have a reel-to-reel machine, so it's in storage there, and it looks like you're not going to be playing that anymore.
That's why they call Frank D'Elia Knuckles.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly. So did you start or play anything on your own, or did the engineers have to do anything? Did you have a show producer that would hit the next element?
No, well, when we first started, I got there in '73. And we had that. So there were several years, many years, where they would have to run everything. We couldn't touch. All we had was a headphone level. We had a volume control, and we had a cough switch, which if the microphone is on, we could momentarily turn it off. But they really had to do everything until we went combo. many years later. I don't remember what year that was.
But there are just so many stories in the past of that time with if the talent and their engineer or producer did not get along, things would be a little feisty. You'd say, I want you to play this, and go to that. And the person who was running the show would never go to that because I don't go to things. You either tell me to play it or I don't play it. Right. Just crazy stories like that from those days.
There are some crazy stories, but for the most part, we got along very well. Even now, here's another name, Jerry Zeller, who was kind of legendary there. We would get into it a little bit because, we had the lights down low, a couple of lamps. We didn't have the overheads on.
Right.
And he would come in when it was his shift to come in. He'd come in and he'd turn on these lights. He'd turn on these awful fluorescent lights. Well, the thing was, and I said, Jerry, come on, we're trying to, we got a mood here and all of this stuff. Well, the thing is, he came into that studio, flipped on the lights, and he's wearing a visor. This was a trademark. This was and God bless him. This was a trademark of his. He wore this visor to keep the lights out of his eyes. And I'd say, please, Jerry, can we just, and he goes, I said, you got a visor. I says, well, I can get you one. I don't want a visor. I want the lights down low. But he was a wonderful guy, and that's just one of the stories that I remember.
How amazing it was to listen to your work back then. We've been replaying some Airchecks, some stories from New Year's Day after a night at Studio 64. And I'm telling you, for everyone who's on the air now and has seen the evolution of radio and presentation from the rock and freeform days to what's happening now, man, we just still, even if we're talking faster or shorter, we just want your essence, man, because it.
I don't like to listen to my old tapes because I just don't like to. So I've never really saved them. But I'll tell you something about Studio 54. That isn't exactly that wouldn't be our image, but Jimmy and Deborah Fink and I and several of us, we used to go to Studio 54 because they would let us in.
Sure.
For some reason, they'd let us in. So we had some fun there and saw some very strange things, but otherwise, no, it was really great to come to PLJ and work with Jimmy Fink and Jim Kerr and Carol Miller and Tony Pigg and Bob Maroney and Zachary, bless his heart, and Larry Berger too. I mean, this was a heck of a crew, I got to tell you.
Well, I was looking, we're so excited to have all the alumni on, including yourself. You did 15 years here, is that correct?
Yeah, it was almost 15 years, yes, indeed.
So, obviously, you went off and had or having a career, too, obviously doing your thing over on satellite radio. Lots of people bring up your name. I'm one of the newer guys here, been here for about 6-7 years. And anytime I tell somebody that I work at PLJ, they say, have you ever met Pat St. John? He is a legend. So, to be able to speak to you here and welcome you onto the show, having you here for Alumni Day would not be an Alumni Day without Mr. Pat St. John.
Absolutely.
That's so nice of you to say. I'm telling you, to everybody there through the years, this is a devastating, surprising thing, a sad day for New Yorkers because PLJ has been such an important, let's put it that way, an important station in New York City. It's just been a part of that. And it's kind of sad to see those call letters go away into oblivion. Oh, I was just thinking, I came from Detroit originally, and I was working at the ABC FM station there, WRIF, when I was offered the Riff. Yeah. And when I was offered the job and came to New York, I get in the building, and this is my first time, and it's like New York City, man. I'm coming to New York City, and my first time in there, I get on the elevator with Howard Cosell. Now I'm going, wow. I'm just freaking out, man, because here's Howard Cosell. This is just my first taste of this ABC building. Well, here's the deal. He's standing there. He's smoking a cigar, okay? in the elevator, of course. You can't do that these days, that's for sure. But he's Howard Cosell. He'd probably do it anyway if he's still around today. So he's standing there with this cigar. It's right in the middle of his mouth. And I'm looking at him, and there is spit rolling down this cigar and dropping on the floor. Well, maybe things aren't as big as, as they're going to be, but I will never forget that. That was my first day.
Oh, that's fun. There's been a lot of stories about the Howard Cosell, the cigar smoking, and elevators, because Jim Kerr and Jimmy Fink were up here earlier, and they brought that up, right?
They brought that up, sure.
Oh, did they really?
They did.
Wow.
It's like a legendary thing.
And they said his cigar with drool dripping down.
Not even close to the same.
That was a wet stogie, and that was nasty. Oh,
Pat,
man.
I got to ask you, life has got to be great. Are you in San Diego now, and you're in the broadcast barn?
Yes, I am. Yeah, I've got this, and by broadcast barn, it's a little barn outside my house. It's 100 feet from my house, and life couldn't be much better. And it's been 4 years now that I've been out in San Diego, and the reason we moved out here was that both of my daughters moved to San Diego, and then my oldest daughter had our first grandson, and it's like, seeing them on FaceTime is just wonderful, but you can't hug them through FaceTime. Right. And we didn't have any family in New York, and we moved out here for that reason, just for family. So it's fantastic, and the fact that SiriusXM lets me broadcast from my house, it just couldn't be better. I'm very blessed to have that. I would never have dreamed of that, way back when, 40-some years ago.
Right.
But, yeah, life is very good. Thank you.
For the kids who have the satellite, where can we find you? Give us the whole story.
Yeah. Well, I'm on Channel 6. It's the 60s on 6. It's all 60s music. And just have a ball live every day. I'm on from 3 to 7, your time, Monday through Friday. And then on a weekend, I do a show similar to the old PLJ days. I'm on Classic Rewind and, playing classic rock. So I'm having a good time, man. I still love it. I'm actually 51 years into in radio now.
Wow.
And I started when I was 16 at my high school, 10 watts. A 5-mile radius, but it's turned out pretty good, and I still love it. Perhaps more and more every day. It's just great. And here we're very lucky because I get to talk to people all over North America. They call in, and we, it's just fantastic. I thank you for asking about that, and thank you for letting me. Thank you for letting me mention SiriusXM satellite radio, but what the hell are they going to do? Fire you?
Hey, Pat, this is Dan Kelly. I do the imaging production here, and great to talk to you. I love you, appreciate you. I was hoping to meet you. I was just going to tell people to look you up on YouTube and watch the videos of you on the air doing your shift, because you're having so much fun. It's incredible. I forgot who I was talking to today, and I was saying that being on the air, being on the radio is fun, but you are having more fun than anybody else ever has on the air. Just look up Pat St. John videos on YouTube and watch you from the broadcast barn.
And I say don't.
Well, listen, we are going to take a couple minutes and play some of the big montage, but before you go, we just want to say what an honor it is to have you on the radio with us right now, and your time here in New York has set the standard. And
well,
it is the shadows.
I'm blessed to work with all those great people that I worked with, and I congratulate you guys on all the great work you have done on PLJ. And really, believe me, it's great to talk to you guys too. I mean, we're all in this thing together, and I want to thank you guys. I want to thank all the great listeners who have been so kind. I've been getting a lot of messages from everybody, and it's really a thrill. These are great memories, and we'll always have those. So thank you for having me on. I'm honored myself. I really am.
Thank you, Pat. And obviously we need you to set this up for somebody who's never heard this before, or somebody listening for the first time. Sorry, it's probably the last time you'll be listening, but for the first time, if you're hearing this, set up the montage. We're going to play a little bit of the montage, but just give us a quick little backstory of what it is, why it's here, and then you get to hit the button.
Well, I just wanted to get some of the stuff. So there's so much great music in classic rock, and this stuff was rolling around my head theme-wise. So I wanted to do something that was kind of special and kind of take my dream and all this stuff that was rolling around in my head and put them together, as themes. So there was a montage for a rainy day in New York City. There was a New York City one. There was a disc jockey one where I took little clips and made Jimmy think. Jimmy was out of a James Taylor record, and then the Fink was from my Mad Magazine album, Let's Do the Fink. And there was there were so many, and I just did these kind of clips and put them together. And like I said earlier, they would be maybe a 1 minute montage in a theme that would run at the top of the hour every several hours. And then by the time several months have gone by, I just put them all together, and that turned out to be the big montage. So these tiny little snippets, and I don't know how many hundreds of songs were in this thing, but it wound up being about a half an hour long. And people still tell me they remember that or have a copy of it from taping it off the air. But that's what this is all about on WPLJ, New York's best rock.
Yesterday, all my troubles seem so far away. Doesn't anybody think I'm crazy? Hey, come on, baby, you do more than that. Stop right there. Don't stop playing that rock and roll music.
Power 95 and 95.5 PLJ. My name is Mike Allen. Next to me is my good bud, Joey Kramer.
Hey.
We are having a quite the time here on the night show, going up until midnight, where we're going to open up the phones, I should say, in about 40 minutes, where our phone number here is 800-321-WPLJ, 1-800-321-WPLJ. And it is reunion day, and it would not be a reunion day without my dear friend.
It's 95.5 PLJ Reunion Day.
Please welcome back Ralphie.
Man.
I feel like it's been years.
I know, right?
It's been since 2018.
Yeah,
It has been years.
exactly.
Let me tell you a little bit about my friend Ralphie. Ralphie had a couple shows here. Started off with the Ralphie Show.
Yes.
That got taken off the air.
Yeah, because of...
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Then he had a show.
I was fully ready to talk,
it doesn't matter. And then he had a show called Ralphie Tonight.
Yeah, that's right.
And then he had a show called The Night Show with Ralphie. Regardless, it's Ralphie Aversa.
There was actually one point, too, where there was just no show name. It was just Ralphie.
Oh, yes.
Right.
Well,
Yeah, but...
I mean,
These memories just burned into my brain, so figured I'd relive them all now.
Too soon.
It's great to see all you guys, though. It's great to see Race earlier, too, and John Fox popping up in here. Man, unbelievable.
Yeah, so what have you been up to, bud?
So I went into the startup world, which is kind of crazy. I was at a live TV startup, and amazing experience going from, I spent 6+ years here on 95.5 PLJ. I'd spent over 11 years with Cumulus Media. So to go from, corporate and traditional media to a startup in new media was, quite the experience, mostly for the better. And yeah, still doing a lot of freelance stuff as well. With TV stuff with Dish Network. I'm actually going to be on Pix 11 tomorrow morning at 8:15 a.m. Probably talking about all you guys. I'm getting into stand-up comedy.
What?
That's funny.
I have so they do this show every year called New York's Funniest Reporter. And it's June 9th. It's over at the
Ralphie, everybody.
Yeah, that's
Ralphie.
right. Hey, if Pat St. John can plug Sirius, and Scott can plug CBS FM, I can plug my stupid little comedy show for a second, okay?
We have to all show up.
Oh,
to
no,
that,
we'll be
by the
there.
way.
Waka, waka.
Comic Strip Live Comedy Club. It's June 9th at 5:30.
Bring your tomatoes.
So going to do a little stand-up as well. So I've been doing a little bit of everything.
One of the great things about Ralphie Aversa, this is 95.5 PLJ Alumni Day, and he had a great way of doing an interview. The style of interview here at 95.5 PLJ, I have to say, everybody who's done an interview on air, online, on Facebook Live, everybody does it different. Obviously, we all look up to Race Taylor. He has such a unique and strong way of doing an interview. But you always, since I started here, I always found it so interesting that when you interviewed somebody, whether it was Taylor Swift to somebody who just put their first record out and they're on radio tour for the first time, you make it seem like, one, you know everything about them, which is incredible because it's easy to know everything about Taylor Swift. But when you have a newcomer who comes up here for the first time, is shaking and freaking out,
right,
you always had a way of, one, making them feel welcome, and two, just knowing everything about them. So my programming hat is on right now. I commend you for that because it was really incredible to watch.
Yeah, it was. I'll tell you this much. I knew, when I first got the job here, and I was promoted again. Like I said, I was with Cumulus Media, and I was doing my radio show out of Scranton, Pennsylvania, and Cumulus moved me to New York, and I knew very well the history of this station, and I'll never forget. And I wish he was here to tell a story. He just jetted out because he's going to go home after his 15-hour day. But when I did my first Grammys in 2013. I went out there so scared because I thought to myself, this better be perfect. Anything less than perfect, and Race is going to be doing this again. Like that, I had that pressure because I knew how great Race was. And, thankfully, A, I can call Race a friend, but also B, that his greatness and his dedication to his craft actually made me better at mine.
And C, I think you had me with you for that trip.
I actually did not bring you either. I brought my producer from Providence,
That's right,
and that was another. And I told him too, I brought in my own guy. They didn't send Maddie. They didn't send. You hate when I call you Maddie, by the way. I'm sorry. I still remember that.
I don't hate that.
All right. Hey, you dislike it?
No, it's sure. It's
All
not
right.
mine.
It's been 3 years, guys. Get over it.
But no, that definitely made me. And to your point too, I think that's why we were able to get some of the cool viral clips that we got, for all the various interviews that I was able to do over those 6+ years. So,
is there a certain interview? I know the type of interview you did merged into some fun little clips that went online, whether it was 2 slices and a story. But is there one interview that you look back from your time here at PLJ? And I know you've interviewed hundreds, if not in the thousands at this point, artists and actors and actresses. Is there someone that sticks out as your time here at PLJ?
I mean, I have to say the Justin Bieber interview. And I say it like that because it wasn't...
Who's Shawn Mendes?
Yeah, where he asked who Shawn Mendes is. And by the way, I honestly don't know if he legitimately did not know who Shawn was or was throwing him shade, as every single blog that picked it up after the fact thought. For me, I think what I'm most proud about that clip, though, is that we didn't, when we presented that clip on the air, his fans heard it, tweeted about it, and that's how it went viral. We didn't turn it into clickbait or a lot of the other stuff that you see in this day and age. So I guess you have to mention that because it's the most viewed clip on PLJ's YouTube channel. So, but that's what I'm proud of with that, is that people were listening to the radio show at night, and that's how it became a viral thing.
Is there, maybe, you know where I'm going with this, is there an interview now that maybe you regret doing or regret saying?
Okay, so I know exactly where you're going with this, and this was going to be the second thing I brought up, because he was on, and it's so interesting too. I mean, I guess some of his fans who saw we tweeted back and forth after the whole incident, so maybe that's how they know. But Ed Sheeran was on my show 3 times from January to July in 2013. The last time he was on my show, it was the weekend that he opened for Taylor Swift. And then we had a little bit of an incident. I would like to think it's and I still haven't told this story publicly, by the way, and I don't know if I'm going to.
This is good. Tell it. You have to tell it.
No. I got it, because you were still here. That's right.
Yes, I was here, and I stand by. I'm on Team Ralphie for life.
Totally.
After this.
Oh, we're all on Team Ralphie here.
There was a misunderstanding. Ed had given me a piece of information that I thought, once the information was confirmed, it was okay to go public with. Apparently for Ed, and certainly Ed's record label and management, they thought otherwise. And so after, and the piece of information was that he was going to be headlining Madison Square Garden. And so after that date was confirmed, I released that particular portion of our interview, thinking that it was okay because Ed went out of his way to give me that info. The record label and management, to say the least, did not see it that way.
He also called it an exclusive. He said, "Do you want an exclusive?"
Yeah, you're coloring. You're right. By the way, you're 100% right.
But I agree. I'm in agreement.
I watched it happen.
And I will say something else I haven't said publicly about that was that I believe the following year at the Grammys, I ran into Ed at the London Hotel in West Hollywood.
It was 2 years later.
It was 2 years later I ran into him?
No, I remember this because we had talked about it the year after.
We talked about the year after because he brought up that new artist that he had signed to his label, and I thought everything was cool, and apparently it was not. However, 2 years later, I run into Ed at the London in West Hollywood, and it's like me, Ed Sheeran, like Mark Ronson, like we're all on this rooftop. Don't ask how I ended up there. But I asked Ed if we were cool, and he's like, "Oh yeah, it's just, the suits, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Don't worry about it. Like, we're good." And I'm like, "Okay, great." And like, he didn't like obviously kick me out of the rooftop or anything like that.
Who was that guy? Who was that guy?
Yeah, like I said, Ed and I are cool. I think his manager is going to hate me till the end of time. And
well, I have emails. That's 100% true.
Yeah, here's the thing.
1,000% true.
I would say this, and this is something else I haven't said publicly about the whole Ed Sheeran incident. I only regret it because not that I felt I did anything wrong.
Which you didn't.
Thank you. Well, it's now with the station set it off tomorrow at 7. You finally have my back on the snakes, Mike. I appreciate it.
That's not true. That is not true.
No, it's not true. Mike, you've had my back for a lot of different things.
Oh, yeah.
But what I regret about it is that it just wasn't worth the trouble. Like, I lost a really good friend, like somebody who I was pretty close with, at least I thought I was close with, and I'm no longer close with because of that. And then all the trouble that, because an incident like that, when you're on a radio station like 95.5 PLJ and you're dealing with an artist like Ed Sheeran and a venue like Madison Square Garden, that incident isn't just between the radio station and some person at the record label. It escalates to executives. It escalated to, the head of promotion from Atlantic Records and the head of Cumulus Media at the time.
Water under the bridge.
And so I regret it because of that, because it definitely wasn't worth the trouble. I still don't think I really did anything wrong. I still really believe it's a misunderstanding, but tomato, tomato.
Yeah, well, anyway, I'm glad you got that off your chest. And
After you goaded me into that story, I'm like, I'll just tell the Bieber thing real quick, and then we can share a few other memories.
We're listening.
That is just one of the many great memories I personally have of you here at 95.5 PLJ.
Can you tell your side of that story that next morning after I released the piece of the interview? Remember, you were here.
Well, I don't know. Was it the next morning? All I remember was
the next morning.
Linda was running down the hallway to John. Entertainment Tonight's on the phone. Entertainment Tonight's on the phone. Wait a second. Hold on. NBC. CNN's calling. I'm like, what just happened? I'm like, is it the Ralphie thing? We got more. There's cameras downstairs. Is Ralphie coming anytime soon? And then John, who keeps his cool at all times, all of a sudden you hear, that was the door. I'm like, oh my God, what's about to happen? And then Ralphie comes walking in, and you were just pouting, and I'm like, what? I'm like, what's happening? What's happening?
Oh, I knew I was in deep trouble.
Yeah, but
I knew right away based off the way people were reacting. I'm like,
luckily,
oh, this is gonna be bad.
Luckily, you were still a part of the radio station.
Yeah,
and
it was never anything like that. Yeah, no, I mean, like obviously we had some meetings behind closed doors with me and some of the Cumulus executives, and I think for the most part things with me and the record label ended up kind of getting patched up for the most part.
Under the bridge.
But yeah, and look, I love Ed, and I'm cool, with, or at least, I would like to be cool with his manager, but his manager, no, not so much with me. His manager has different thoughts on this.
We're speaking with Ralphie Aversa on the Alumni Day here on 95.5 PLJ, reminding you we are going to take your phone calls too at 800-321-WPLJ. It's coming up in about an hour, I'd say 40 minutes or so.
Great.
Here on Reunion Day.
Can I request a song and tell you a quick story about this song?
If you give me enough time to pull it up, you could request it.
Yeah, do the home montage, Philip Phillips. I know it's going to be all sad, but I just want to, when I think back to my 6+ years at 95.5 PLJ, I started 2 weeks before Sandy. And, what?
Maybe we'll just play home.
All right, play the montage. The reason why is, you guys Dan Kelly, you worked hard on that montage, didn't you?
I did, yeah. And then you synced the video up to the audio and made a really awesome
video. And that was
video
one of the first big projects that I worked on 2 weeks after being here. I'll never forget.
It was amazing.
I still had a car in the city at the time, and I drove back to Niagara Falls, where I'm from originally, dropped off the car, I took a train back, got the last train back into the city, and then was on the air while Sandy happened. And it's interesting because now I live downtown in the Seaport, and I tell people all the time, the Seaport is still recovering. And so think about all the development that happens in Manhattan. If the Seaport is still recovering and rebuilding, I can't imagine what other parts of the Tri-State area. And then, of course, isn't to mention the fact that, if you lost someone, you'll have that until the day you die, sadly. And so, Sandy, for a lot of different reasons, will always stick with me, and I will never forget what this area went through and how this area came together during that time.
This is 95.5 WPLJ on Alumni Day. We are we are less than 24 hours away from the official sign-off of this radio station tomorrow with Race Taylor at 7 o'clock on 95.5 PLJ. We were just speaking with Ralphie Aversa. He wanted to play that Philip Phillips montage from Hurricane Sandy. Meant a lot to him. You're going to stick around?
Yes, absolutely.
We have also on the line right now our friend, Mr. Chris Marino. How are you, Chris?
Hey! What up?
What's up, buddy?
Yeah, when I called in, I'm like, hey, it's Marino. They go, who? Chris Marino. Oh, another old guy's on the phone. Another one of the old DJs are on the phone again. So I'm following Ralphie Aversa, and I have to go back through time again. So,
what's going on, buddy?
Listen, hey, the same thing we're all talking about and we're all sharing. It's I've been in a funk all day. I work up in the Hudson Valley. I settled up here with my family. I have 2 sons who are 8 and 2, and I love working where I'm working. But this whole day, people were like, Chris, what's the matter? I go, it's a tough day, man. I mean, it was great seeing a bunch of our family last Tuesday, and then just today listening. I've been on and off in between doing my radio show and doing the stuff that I do up here in the Hudson Valley. Been tuning in and hearing all the different personalities throughout the years, and what I can't get out of my head, and that's just kind of just sticks with me for this entire day, is the fact that, and I don't mean to bring sports up, and if you're a Mets fan, I'm sorry, but PLJ is like the Yankees of radio, and you have different Yankees throughout the years that people remember. They remember the 70s Yankees, they remember the 80s Yankees, the 90s dynasty with the core, the 4 and all that. And then, I'm following the Yankees now. I'm loving Aaron Judge and all the new kids that are playing. Yeah, we say kids now because we're old. But, that's what I love about PLJ. There's such diverse, rich history, and I was blessed to be there I became involved with the station 1 month after Scott Shannon got there. Wow. Answering phones, running around. Joey Kramer and I came up together. Joe, Monkey Boy, we're all part of that class of the early '90s. And you had Kenny Walker on a little while ago. He was one of my mentors. Dave Stewart, Fast Jimmy. We were just again that group that came through during the '90s was just very interesting. We went from being a top 40 into a hot adult contemporary station. Where the best songs on the radio. No rap, no hard stuff, no sleepy elevator music. That was the time we were there because that was the outlet that PLJ, the lane that PLJ became, and it was huge. I mean, the revenue was fantastic, and we had you'd had all these people on throughout the whole day that were part of many different dynasties, and I'm blessed and glad to have been part of the one in the '90s. So,
Chris, it's funny when you look back at that time. I guess you kind of want to rewind and go, man, I wish I would have held on to those moments a little longer. We were younger, and we're in New York, and we're starry-eyed, and it was just an incredible time. If you think about it now, it's like, man, we were kind of given the keys to a Lamborghini. And Tom and Scott said, don't bring it back with a dent.
That was number 51 on impressions, by the way. Number 51.
You know what I mean? Man. But and you think back, and it's like, wow, they took a chance on us, and we had a hell of a lot of fun because this radio station was
listen,
hot.
man, I quite frankly, it was kind of in reverse for me because, and I told you this, Joey, when we were together at the reunion, because you mentioned that I was among the first of us to move from the answering the telephones, doing promotions and so forth to actually crack the mic. And I told you this, Joey, at the reunion that, looking back, I probably wasn't quite ready. Probably none of us were. But, Tom, Scott, Mike Preston, all those guys believed in us.
Right.
And they really did something that I finally, I feel, frankly, that is not common in this particularly major market, big city radio like this, where you, from within, you move people up and give them opportunity. I'm a kid from Paterson, New Jersey. Joe, you're local. A bunch of us, we're just local guys that started interning, that started working part-time, that they saw the fire in our belly that we really wanted to do this. And, to have gotten that, I'll tell you guys a quick story. When I was in Hartford, I got that phone call from Tom Cuddy. Now, this is after I left PLJ to go cut my teeth and learn my craft in different little radio stations. But I ended up in Hartford, and this is like the fall of '94. And Tom Cuddy calls up and he's like, "Hey, Chris, it's Tom Cuddy." Has I made any Tom Cuddy impersonations yet?
That was very good. I enjoyed that.
It's your buddy, Tom Cuddy. So Tom goes, "I have a friend of mine that needs some help on the weekends and overnights and so forth at his radio station." So I'm thinking, I don't know. He's like, it's a big station. Something, maybe it's Philadelphia, maybe one of the top 10 cities, that's Boston, that it's easily accessible from Hartford. So anyway, he goes, I go, "Yeah, Tom, I'd love to, help out. Let me know." He's like, "All right, great. When can you come to PLJ and train?" I go, "Excuse me?" And he goes, "Yeah, my friend is me. I'm my own friend. I need you to work for WPLJ." And I went, "Oh, dude." I looked at the phone. Yeah.
Amazing.
Joey, did they do that with you too? Did they there's always like a little funny way that they kind of broke the news to you that you were doing something really big.
Yeah, it was February of '96. They, I had talked to Tom. I said, "I'm going to work my butt off, and this is what I want to do, and I want to be here one day." And and he gave me a shot overnight. He's like, "Well, do you want to be on for 2 hours or 3?" And I said, "Well, I'll take the 3 because no one gets a chance like this." And he said, "You better believe it." So so I did that audition shift, and then it wasn't until June, I guess, or just before that they let some people go. And he said, you've made some great strides, and we may have something open for you at some point. And then, some time passed. And then in typical Tom fashion, called me late at night, one weeknight. I think I was in bed, actually. And he's like, "Hey, what do you think about, coming to work for us?" And it was just, magic. It was absolutely magic. You really can't put it into words. It's unbelievable
when you get that call, man. It's, like it's been said 1,000 times today, we are a small percentage of people in this business that got the what do you want to call it? The luck, I don't know, the privilege, we must have done something right to be able to crack that microphone.
Right.
At PLJ, I worked with, Dan Kelly down in Philadelphia, and Christine was down there as well. So we have this intertwined history with all of us in this small group of folks that, last Tuesday at our reunion party, we all were able to, see each other after, some cases 20 to 25 years, and it's just, but again, just to bring it full circle, just to know that we are part of something that, the old saying, the king is dead, long live the king, 95.5 PLJ, as of, right now, 24 hours from now, will not be here. It will no longer exist. It will be extinct on that frequency. But I got to believe in our hearts and then, the fans and people who have listened from when, Jim Kerr, Shelley, and all those, cats were doing their thing back in the 70s when the station, Jimmy Fink, when it was created, to, again, the different, throughout the years, the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, Mike Allen and John Fox and that crew, Ralphie, you guys, what you guys have done, you're part of that particular generation that's going to be remembered. So, it's awesome. It's a bittersweet. It's awesome, and it's also just sad. It's just going to take some time to process this. But, I wrote this on social media. I got to believe in my heart of hearts that some way, somehow, some fashion, WPLJ is going to continue. It's got to happen. There's got to be a way. If the minimum part, just in our memories and us talking about on social media, and listeners and our family of listeners who are listening right now who help keep it alive, that's great, and that's the minimum we can expect. But I got to believe that those call letters, there's something magic. The magic's not done.
Yeah,
the magic's not done.
Yeah,
I believe that.
I've said this in my heart of hearts, and people may think that I'm crazy, but I truly think at some point 95.5 WPLJ will come back around one day.
Yeah.
You know
what? Because Joey, there's and Mike and all you guys, there's too many of us that have love for it. That's what it is. That something that great can't die. It just can't. You're maybe a little bit of a stumbling block right now. Forces beyond our control, financing and so on and so corporate stuff. But you can't. But this is what TV can't do. This is what social media can't do. This is companionship. This is family that we have that is just incredible. And I've seen, you guys, I've seen it time and time again. I can tell you from having worked in different markets that it really is something special with people have their affinity with their radio station. So, I got to tell you, it's, hey, look, we've seen it happen with KTU. We've seen it happen with other brands that go away. PLJ, I'm telling you, mark my words, some way, some fashion, somehow it's going to live on. And we'll just have to wait till then and just, again, enjoy our memories and all the stuff that we're doing right now. So
we're speaking with Chris Marino here on Alumni Day on 95.5 PLJ, and he and I talked about this at the alumni party and the reunion party we had last week. I will never forget that I was in kind of a tough place in my career trying to figure out where did I want to go. Did I want to continue with radio? Did I want to move to another job? And I started emailing program directors and just names that I recognized. And a job, I don't even think there was a job posted, but I reached out to a guy named Chris Marino, which I knew he had some equity here in New York, and he was programming and doing mornings up at K104. At one time, I remember hearing him there. So I wrote him an email, and I'd say within maybe 15 minutes, I received an email back from Chris, and I was blown away because I was writing all these emails to program directors, and sure enough, we lost. Did we drop the phone,
no.
Chris?
I'm here. No. I'm here.
And
you got me?
Yes, I hear you. And as somebody who became a manager here, an assistant program director at PLJ for the last few years, I always remembered the way that you wrote me back right away, because I remember how I felt when other program directors and other morning show guys and afternoon guys, if I reached out to them, not geeking out, but kind of saying, hey, this is who I am, this is what I want to do, if there's anything, because everybody who you talk to in this business says, hey, if you want to go get it, you have to go find it, and you got to go find that person who's going to give you a shot. And though we never got to work together, I will always remember that Chris Marino wrote back to me really within minutes. So all these years later.
You came up to me and brought that up at the party last Tuesday, which was, look, I'm honored that you feel that way. It really means a lot to me. And Mike, you're going to see as you become an old fart like me, and you're with the talent, and you've already seen it already in your position. As you just people in general, folks. I know you're listening, probably like all this radio stuff I'm hearing all day on the radio, but it really does apply to life.